the way to understand it better is to look at it in the face. And so I say this a lot, we only fear what we don't know. That's anxiety, right? Not knowing what's next. But in the greater scheme of life, we only fear what we don't know. And usually, what we don't know or what we fear, we look away, we avoid. Welcome to Mindset Mastery with Julissa Edwards, the podcast dedicated to helping high performers unlock their true potential and cultivate a powerful mindset for success. I'm your host, Julissa Edwards, a mindset coach and advocate for healthy high performance. Join me on this transformative journey as we delve into strategies, insights, and inspiring conversations with experts and thriving high performers. Get ready to master your mindset, elevate your performance, and create a life of purpose and fulfillment. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back. It is time for a solo episode, and today I kind of want to get into spirituality, where it crosses over with mindset, teach you more about my passion for combining the two and how I really utilize spirituality and mindset to help my clients overcome their adversities, and some other things along the way. So let's just get into it. Okay. So I'm kind of guiding us through this podcast with the intention of helping anyone who's been going through a hard time and they just can't see to understand or seem to understand why. Our egoic nature, our human nature is to try and understand all that is happening around us. When we don't know what's going on, for most of us, it causes discomfort within us because we're trying to find the knowingness of life. We're trying to understand what's going on around us. And that's so normal. Spirituality comes into play here because a lot of times we can surrender to God, source, universe. We can give it up to God. We can let go. And there is overlap within mental health / mindset rituals and practices and spirituality. For me, it's really almost one within the same, but there are distinct differences here. So I'll start off by stating that for me, spirituality is the connection that you have to self, to your soul's purpose, to your dharma. It is the all-knowingness inside of you that exists, right? And so for me, that's spiritual because that doesn't always exist in our day-to-day lives because we're also human. If we always had this all-knowingness that all is well and all will be fine, then we would never have any problems, and that would be a pretty good life, And the reality is that us humans, we stress about things, we catastrophize, we have sadness, we have jealousy, feelings that move through us, that pass through us, that show us our human selves. And it's a beautiful thing to be human. I always say that I've had holistic mentors teach me in the past that souls love humans. They love experiencing human emotion because souls don't have emotions, right? And in my motherhood program, I teach all my mamas a lot of Eastern philosophy and psychology. And one of their beliefs is that we chose the body that we're in to live in this lifetime. So before the beautiful thing about motherhood and about birthing babies and just being in this realm of reproduction, having the gift to be able to hold and birth life, that is something that I never take for granted. And my entrance into motherhood really showed me how divine and beautiful women are. What a beautiful gift we get to experience, to bring life into this world. All of it from, conception to the pregnancy, the birthing process, then raising those beautiful little children. Like, wow, what a blessing. And so I'm bringing up motherhood because none of us would be here on this beautiful earth if we weren't pushed out from our mamas, if we weren't held in our mother's womb for those 9 months, or give or take, and if we weren't brought here by her, right? And so spiritually we can say, this is God's gift, and I believe that too, right? It's not just the mother that conceives a child. Obviously there's a two-way street here. The fathers are heavily involved in all the things, but in the most caressing and loving way, I feel that a mother is put here to bring life onto this earth, right? And so there's just so much beauty in life that comes from that, and we all started from that beginning, right? And I always teach my mamas in the Conscious Motherhood Circle program that, you know for those of us that have birthed children, we held a soul and then gave it a body, right? And you could chalk that up to science too, because somewhere does science come in? It's all real to me. It's all very real. There was a soul that chose to implant itself, this is Eastern philosophy, into that womb space, right? It chose the mother for this human body's lifetime. I would say, souls can choose to go into anything. They can choose to go into plants. They can choose to go into a dog, a cat, animals, nature, and your soul chose to go into your body for a very specific purpose, to live out a very specific lifeline, timeline, to learn specific things in their journey of being human with you, because without you, they cannot be human. They're just a soul, a beautiful, expansive soul. So yes, you could bring in science there that, little things happen in week 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to month 9 of the pregnancy where things are happening, but that is majestic. That is divine. That is a miracle. All the things that happen on a cellular level to create a baby, it's absolutely magnificent. So when we're talking about the crossover between spirituality and mindset and mental health, for me, everything is everything. Everything is connected. Everything is intertwined, and everything is beautiful. Life is so beautiful, even in the hardships, even in the adversities. And so I choose to live my practice this way, my coaching practice, because it's just, for me, it's too juicy not to see the world the way that I see it. I'm not saying that that my point of view is the best point of view, but I believe that certain people were put here on this earth. Well, I believe that we were all put on this earth to interpret the world the way that we interpret it. It's called a school of thought, right? And those that are attracted to the school of thought that comes within me are those that are meant to learn from me at this time. And so if that is you on the listening end, I appreciate you for being here. Thank you, because there's many times that I doubt myself of is what I'm saying even making sense? Or do people get what I'm trying to say over here? Is this even real? And what I've learned, coming from the academia side of things, beginning my profession being very clinical, very black and white thinking, very 1 + 1 = 2, this is why the brain does this thing. Those things are all true. And I was so heavily rigid in my way of thinking. In all of life, even before I began to study psychology and mental health, everything was well, if I do this, and this will happen. And if I study it, if I get good grades, then I'll go into a good college. And if I go into a good college, then I'll have a good career. And that was very much my mindset. And it's okay. Nothing wrong with that. It worked for me. It got me to where I needed to get to in life. And then growing up a little bit, post college, and having my first, real big girl job, and becoming a therapist and all the things, and then becoming an entrepreneur and becoming a mindset coach and going into the coaching field and just learning more about life, I began to see that everything that was taught to me in textbooks, I already knew to some degree. No, I didn't have the fancy words. No, I didn't, really know the intricacies of what happens when somebody, when the body receives stress, and what really anxiety is, and depression, and all of that. Sure, I learned all those things in school, but the biggest lessons for me in spirituality have been that the answer is always within. The answer is within the 4 elements, in nature, in stillness, in our souls, because somebody had to write those textbooks. And where do you think they learned that knowledge from from themselves, from life experience. So yeah, we create books and textbooks and schoolings, coaching, because one person that has a soul has achieved greatness. And so then they're putting it on paper. They're like, hey, I figured out how to get from A to B. Read this book so you can get there too. And it does, and it helps us, right? That's why I went into coaching. I love coaching because for me, it's like I'm combating certain things in my life. And then with the help of my mentors and my spiritual healers and God and the universe and just me living life, I learn. And I'm like, the whole purpose of me being here is to teach others how to get from point A to point B faster. So my way of, releasing books, and that is, in my future to come to release a book. But that is my purpose here of like, well, let me coach you through, let me teach you the framework behind how I was a new mom and learned how to run a business. And like, that's why when women entrepreneurs come to me that are either looking to be a mama soon or they are a new time mom, I'm like, hello, I'm the best person to mentor you. If you love my school of thought and my way of thinking, and you appreciate what I've done in my life thus far, then here, let me give you the playbook, the play-by-play of how I got here, the mistakes that I learned from, the lessons I learned, the hardships I had to endure, so that you don't have to go through them in the same manner that I did, if not at all. That's the whole point of hiring a mentor, right? And so for me, like, yeah, spirituality is the school of life, and learning how to lean inward. But I'm still studious, and I'm still a student, and I'm still someone who loves to be in academia and have continuing education and all the things. So I will also still go to school and continue my learnings and continue my education, because we need both. I've been my past self where I was too much in the books and only a mindset queen, and only like knowing the scientific facts behind the mind and all the things. And that was helpful for when it was helpful. And entering entrepreneurship and spirituality, I also went completely left and was way too spiritual and all the things. Well, yeah, I guess you can never be too spiritual, but I didn't have enough of my humanness back within me. My logical brain, it was burnt out. And so when I found spirituality, I was like, oh my God, this is the thing that I have been missing. Holy crap. I don't want to think so hard anymore. I just want to know the answers. I just want to know internally that all is well and all will be well. And I spent a little bit too much on that side of the world where I wasn't balanced. And so in the beginning of this call, of this podcast episode, I said, I really want to help those that have been going through a hard time and want to know the answers and really are looking for peace within themselves at this time. So I was explaining to a client earlier today how sometimes we feel that we are distant from life and from ourselves because we're distant in life, and that we disassociate because there's a distance between our human self and our soulful self. We are supposed to be connected. We are supposed to be, one more often than not. And there are points in our life where we feel disassociated, or we feel like we're not really here on this earth because we're missing the connection to self. I always state that trauma can be looked at as when we're going through hard things in life and we don't have community or somebody to fall back on, when we're going through hard moments alone, when we feel disconnected. So a lot of the antidotes in life, the remedies in healing and curing, is being in connection and community with others and with ourselves. And that's a big part of spirituality. When I think about spirituality within nature, I think about how trees are so implanted on this earth and they're so connected to every other tree that is next to them by their roots. Mother trees have baby trees. Did you know that? That's beautiful. And if they're younger trees, baby trees are in need of some nourishment. The roots are connected. If you have a backyard, if you ever see land with trees, know that all those trees are connected by the roots underneath the ground. And when the younger trees, the baby trees, are in need of some type of nutrition, the mother tree will give it to them through the roots. How beautiful is that? Everything is connected. So if you're ever feeling out of place, just go to nature and find wholeness within once again. For those of us that have been having a hard time and you feel disconnected, know that your soul was put here to learn a very important lesson from you. Remember, souls don't know what it's like to be human, so they're very much like, ooh, wow, wow, why are they sad? Wow, they're really happy today. Wow, what is that? What's jealousy? What is that? Why do they feel that way when this person does this thing? They're just very curious. They love us. They think we're interesting in human beings, right? And so they attach to us. This soul, is a part of us because it's here to learn a lesson maybe from many lifetimes ago, or maybe for the first time ever. And it's our jobs as humans to remember, because the soul that chose you to live this life in this body that you have, before you were born, before you were brought to Earth's side, it already saw the full projection of your life. And it said, yeah, I choose that one. I want to learn those lessons. I want to go through those hardships, right? And our life gets to be a little bit more whimsical and a little bit more fun and a little bit more purposeful, I would even dare to say, when we have the remembrance of, that's what my soul chose me in this lifetime for. It is a sense of comfort. It is a sense of knowingness. Anxiety, the root of anxiety is not knowing. The root of anxiety is not feeling safe because we don't know what's coming next, right? It's always this futuristic mind saying, what if, or what happens then, and when, and is this going to be okay? And da-da-da. Anxiety, the main source of it is the not knowing piece. And so spirituality is really grand because when you connect to your soul, when you connect to your spirit, you are reminded, what's the purpose here? What am I supposed to be? So please ask yourself, if you've been going through a hard time, what is my soul supposed to learn from this experience? What is life trying to help me remember? What is this hardship really about? What is this adversity really about? How many times has this lesson shown up for me time and time again until I'm here to remember it fully and clearly? I spoke about this on my stories earlier today. If you're not following me, you already should be. All things podcast related at thehealthy.highperformer. All things motherhood related at julissa.edwards_counseling. Our souls were meant to remember what our intended plan was on this earth. There was this one specific thing that sums up all of your pain. There's this one reoccurring message that sums up all of your pain. You might say, oh, but I have pain here, and I get sadness from this, and I get nervous here, and I get overwhelmed here. And it's like, okay, I implore you to just sit with all of those bubbles of thought and ask yourself, where's the funnel? Where's the common ground? What is the lesson that keeps showing up for you in different ways about this thing, this problem area of your life? And the way to understand it better is to look at it in the face. And so I say this a lot, we only fear what we don't know. That's anxiety, right? Not knowing what's next. But in the greater scheme of life, we only fear what we don't know. And usually what we don't know or what we fear, we look away, we avoid, we don't take enough time to sit with it. So I'm going to bring up the example of sadness. There are so many times, the people that suffer with depression, there are so many times that we want to wish away those bad or ugly, sad parts of self. We're like, oh my God, that was such a hard time. I don't want to go back there. Oh my God, I feel myself getting sad again. I don't want to go back there. And my heart goes out to you. I've struggled with sadness too. It's such a gloomy, maybe overwhelming feeling that we don't even want to touch it for the sake of it over consuming us once again. I get that. And what I'm here to remind you is that The more we fear it, the stronger it gets. The more power we give it. Like Freddy Krueger, I've used that example in the past, right? If you just took the time to look at him, he gets smaller in fear because it's not so scary. I think I've shared, I don't know if it was on a podcast earlier, but um looking at, for me, can be really scary. And there was a beautiful spiritual awakening that I had when there was this grasshopper on my windshield. It was big, it was scary, and I was able to look at it clearly in the eyes, and I actually felt compassion for it after some time. And I looked at it and I was like, wow, this thing is actually really beautiful. And under different circumstances, I probably wouldn't have gotten this close to it because I was in my car and it was on my windshield. So there was this glass in between us that made me feel a little bit safer. But I got a really good look at it. And yes, we only fear things that we do not understand, that we don't fully take the time to see. So when it's something ambiguous like sadness, and this sadness that has overtaken us in the past, or maybe it's anxiety for you, maybe it's fear that it's debilitating, it's crushing. We don't want to look at it. You're only making it worse. And the only way to teach your soul what the intended mission on this earth is for it to look at it closely within you. Your soul is a part of you, it's attached to you. And maybe the times where you feel disassociated, it's kind of walking away from you because you're not taking the time to look at the hard things in the face and understand it better so that you can teach your soul. The only way that you can teach, I'm also a retired adjunct psychology professor. So the only way that you can teach something is when you've mastered it. When you've mastered something, is because you've done it over and over and over again. So you have to look at this thing in the face. If the sadness is a thing that you're scared of, or the anxiety is a thing that you're scared of, and you haven't looked at it in the face, then you're keeping a blind eye to it. And that blind eye, when you look back, there's an opportunity for it to clock you in the face again because you're not looking at it. And there's stages, right? You can look at it with fear, and then you learn to look at it with love, because love and compassion come about when there is true understanding, which is what I do best with my clients. I help them look in the mirror. I help them look at this thing that has been holding them back for so long. And I don't wish it away with positive mindset exercises. Yes, we do things like gratitude. Yes, we do things like 5-to-1 exercises. Yes, we do all of those things. But it's not just that. It has to come with the piece of compassion and understanding. Because if you just want to wish it away like it's an ugly part of self, it only goes away when you accept it as part of yourself. My depression when I was pregnant came up because there were really ugly parts of myself. I was so sad. And when I look at those, and when I think about those times in my past of when I was so insecure and so lost and so just sad, I can almost shed a tear for myself right now. If I think about it and I sit here long enough, that's me connecting with my soul, inviting her in, saying, hey, while we are not sad right now, know that there is darkness that exists within inside of us, and that's okay. It's what makes me human. And I need you to better understand her. Because her sadness erupts when she is misunderstood. And the only one who is misunderstanding her is me. No one on the outside. And so when I talk about things like this, my voice can get shaky. It's a tender subject. It should be taken seriously. It's you. It's your life. Why would you pay attention to anything else? So the overlap of mindset work and spiritual coaching for me is grand. I can't do life without one or the other. I can't live life, coaching. I can't live my life without beautifully entangling both pieces together. The human piece, the mindset piece, the egoic piece, the science piece with the spiritual, ever expansive, ever elusive, whimsical, beautiful part of life. Your soul can grant you your greatest wishes. But you have to be able to talk to your soul. Your soul and you gotta be one. If you can't see the video, my fingers are overlapping. They can't be separate. They have to be one in unison, and to be one, the soul must understand the body, the human experience, and the human must understand the soul. For the human to understand the soul is the human to understand that we can achieve anything in this lifetime, because souls are ever expansive and they're not human. They don't need to eat. They don't got to breathe. They don't got to do any of that human stuff. They don't have to be well nourished. They just are. And with that comes great power, should we choose to tap into it. But we can't forget that we're human. We got to eat. We got to eat. We got to feel, we got to be nourished. We have to have, good minerals and vitamins within inside of us to be healthy human beings. We need that. And then we get to remind ourselves that we're also soulful beings, beautiful, soulful beings. It's really trippy. And I love talking about things like that because it's just exciting to me. It makes me happy. It makes me happy. And it makes me happy to bestow this information onto others too, because I feel like I get to explain things in a way that people maybe haven't heard it before. And it just hits. So I hope it's hitting for you. And for those of you that tapped into this message, if you were having a hard day, or if you were having a hard month, or whatever may have, you're having a hard time, I hope that this reminds you this is all for a greater purpose, and you're here to teach your soul something very, very important. So that's my lesson here. This one is quick. It's to the point. If you have questions, feel free to DM me. If this episode hit you, always feel free to screenshot and share with others. I think the whole beauty about life is also sharing light with others. That's how you become more luminous, right? And so if this really helped change your way of thinking, or you feel that it could help somebody else, post it on your stories, text it to a friend, post it on your timeline, something. Tag me so I can see it. My human egoic self needs to know that I'm doing good in this world, even though I know I am. And yeah, I'll leave it with this, my friends. We are currently enrolling for our first round of the year for the Conscious Motherhood Circle program. If you are a mama who is in need of mentorship at this time and navigating the realms of motherhood, and more importantly, after hearing this episode, learning that what I'm going to be teaching you is how to get to know yourself very, very well as a mama, as a woman, so you can better navigate the waters of your soul, to better navigate the waters of your children's souls. We have, wow. We are such important beings. Mothers are so important. We are the matriarchs of our family. And if you feel called to work with me at this time, I'd be joyous, happy to get to know you better, mama. The application can be found in the show notes of this episode, or simply DM me CMC on Instagram and I'll give you more info. But yeah, I'm excited. If this feels called for you, please join us. And if you're not a mama and you're listening into this episode, I hope that it served you well and that the intention served its purpose. Until next time, I'll see you guys very soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning into Mindset Mastery with Julissa Edwards. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast to receive future episodes packed with valuable insights. Remember to follow us on social media at thehealthy.highperformer for more inspiration, tips, and updates. If you found this episode helpful, we'd appreciate it if you could share it with your network and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us as we continue to empower high performers like you. Until next time, keep mastering your mindset and thriving as a healthy high performer.